Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're taking a look at one of my favorite DC Comics characters. Of course, I'm talking about the fastest man alive, the Flash. This video we're going to be looking at 5 great places to start reading the Flash. But before we dive in, I do want to go ahead and mention our channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, definitely check them out. You can find their website link in the video description, and if you find something there you like, you can even use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support the channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's list video. First on our list today, I'm going to go all the way back to the dawn of the Silver Age. So of course we're talking about Showcase issue 4, the origin of the Barry Allen Flash. Now there are earlier places you could start reading the Flash, all the way back in the Golden Age with a character like Jay Garrick. But for me, when I think of the Flash, first and foremost, I go back to Barry Allen and I go back to the Silver Age. And honestly, it all really starts here. We have Barry Allen involved in that lab accident where he's next to a bunch of different chemicals that's all struck by lightning, giving him this super speed. For me, these issues are more than quaint, they're just a ton of fun. For those that have never read Silver Age comic books, they are a bit dated. A lot of these issues came out late 50s through the early 60s, but to me, there is a lot of just genuine goodness in these comics. I think for me, there is a good-natured feel to this character and overall this era of comic books. One of the things I like about Silver Age Flash is I love the vibrancy of all the colors. Both the Flash himself and his trademark red and yellow, but also all of his rogues gallery of villains that have just these shocking kind of technicolor, primary color schemed kind of character designs and costuming. Everything just leaps from the pages. I first became familiar with these issues back in the old DC Comics Presents or DC Showcase Presents, these gigantic, really cheaply made black and white reprints of early issues, and I still like the issues then, but getting them in just full color in some of these volumes here, this being the Silver Age Flash paperback collections. I know they released 4 of these, which I do have. It's just a whole nother level. The color makes everything just absolutely jump out of the page. You can also find these in omnibus format here and there and other collections. But to me, when I think of the Flash, I think that this is such a great place to start, especially if you don't mind going back and reading older books. I think for DC Comics, this is actually maybe my favorite Silver Age DC comic book I've had the pleasure of reading. I know for modern audiences, this kind of work could be a little bit alienating or uncomfortable or odd, but to me there is just something so cool about these old issues, and I'm so happy DC saw fit to reprint them, like I said, in an oversized hardcover omnibus format, in formats like this, and other formats throughout the years, but I think that this is certainly an excellent place to begin reading The Flash. Even looking at some of these early issues, we get a lot of the uses of his primary powers, obviously super speed, but how he implements them. We have even time travel elements in some of these early issues, which is a mechanic we see throughout the Flash's run, even more in modern era, I feel like, and I love that so many of the seedlings and ideas of all of these were brought right in the beginning of some of these issues at the dawn of the Silver Age. And you can see the art for yourself as I've been flipping through. There's just nothing quite like it these days. I think that there's so much here of value, and I absolutely would recommend it. Next on a great place to start reading The Flash, we're going to flash forward all the way to the 90s Flash era with Mark Waid. And to showcase a bit of that, I'm going to be looking at the Flash by Mark Waid Omnibus Volume 1. I did do a full review of this omnibus earlier on the channel for those interested, but why I picked this is I think that Waid is responsible for adding so much depth and lore to the mythos of the Flash, and it should absolutely be noted. Now, his primary Flash is 100% Wally West. He is the main protagonist throughout most of Waid's run. Not that we don't see appearances from Barry Allen, Jay Garrick, and a number of other speedsters, of course, but this is a Wally West book, by and large, and I think it is so successful because of that. Now, I did go over an era I almost included on this list as well, which was the era under Mike Baron and William Messner Loeb. That is another really fun snapshot of where you can start the Flash, being really the earliest solo Flash stuff following Wally West's Flash. Again, another fantastic place to start. I'm not including it in this video, but consider it an honorable mention. I reviewed a collection that talked about that run as well on the channel for those interested. But going over here to Mark Waid's Flash, I think for me, one of the things I liked, being a 90s comic, initially I shied away from it, but I dove in for this omnibus and I thoroughly enjoyed my experience. The art is absolutely top-notch, and the concepts and lore that we have within this Flash omnibus and this whole run in general is just paramount as far as the importance for modern Flash. This is where we got a lot of the mechanics and ideas for the Speed Force, which is kind of that guiding power source for the speedsters, and Waid really helps create a lot of the foundational background lore, building up of that lore. Anyway, really well done, but I think overall, the biggest selling point for this run and why I have to recommend it is his great grasp of these characters, the character voices. I cannot tell you how much Wally West feels like a well-rounded, realistic, authentic character. You learn to just love him with all of his flaws that make him so human. I think that's why, overall, I actually do prefer Wally West to Barry Allen. I think Barry Allen has kind of a squeaky clean veneer to him that I think can kind of come across as maybe dull for those that aren't really invested in the character, or if he's not handled very well. I see people make similar complaints for characters like Captain America or Superman. I'm really big fans of those characters as well, and I think in the right hands, any of these characters can absolutely shine, of course. But I think that because of that, I do prefer Wally West. I think overall, he feels like a more human character. I see more of his obvious character flaws. I see him navigating real relationships, real situations, in greater detail between this run and the run from Geoff Johns. It's made me a Wally West fan for life, frankly, and we have most of that character development for me here in Mark Waid's era. Have to recommend it. Okay, next on our list today, great places to start reading The Flash. I'm going to be talking about Geoff Johns' run on The Flash, which is another run that follows the Wally West Flash. This run does follow up after the Mark Waid era on the book, and we get into kind of the 2000s Flash. Overall, I absolutely love this run. I think to date, this is probably my favorite Flash run that I've had the pleasure of reading end to end, and I really can't say enough good things about it. While I do think that Mark Waid might have a more commanding grasp of Wally West as a character, I think Geoff Johns does a superior job of having well-rounded rogues gallery villain characters. He brings back a lot of classic villains from long-time Flash kind of legacy arcs and comic book history, and he gives them new dimensionality. He makes them very, very human and likable, and to the point where you almost just care about their plight, their conflicts, and it really helps ground me to the central storytelling. We also have the emergence of the new Reverse Flash, Zoom, and I think that that is one of the triumphs of this run, in my opinion. The art, though it varies a little bit throughout the run, there is kind of consistent styles we see throughout a majority of it, and I do like the look. It is a bit more polished, a little more animated, a little more softer around the edges, but I think it does sell it for me, and I really dig it. So this volume itself is a paperback volume, one of 6 that contain the Geoff Johns run. They also have this in an oversized hardcover format in the form of omnibuses. I believe it's a 3-volume set that you can find. There's also older, smaller paperbacks, single issues, things like that. To me, Geoff Johns is one of my absolute favorite writers, particularly over at DC. I feel like he has had so many character-defining runs. Between runs like this, we had Hal Jordan Green Lantern, we had Hawkeye, JSA, and so many more. But to me, Flash is one of his best runs in my opinion, maybe second only to Green Lantern, which is my #1 spot for a Geoff Johns comic book run. At any rate, I really do dig it. I like the colors that pop. I like how he utilizes his powers throughout this run. I think it's really just kind of fun play with motion, which is just absolutely essential, a key ingredient for any good Flash run in my opinion. But again, I think it's the way he's elevated the rogues characters of villains where you almost care about them more than the hero at points. I think it's just a masterstroke that really set this run apart for me. I think it is a great place to start as a new reader. In fact, it was one of the earliest places I ever started reading The Flash, and I feel like I didn't miss a beat. Definitely check out Geoff Johns. And hey, while I still have you, if you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to give it a like, maybe comment, and for sure, consider subscribing to the channel. I try to do list videos like this, along with comic book reviews, unboxings, community posts, and shorts. Anyway, thank you for considering it. Now let's keep going with today's list. Perhaps my most controversial pick on this list, The Flash from New 52 from Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato. This run kicks off after the events of Flashpoint, which in itself is actually a fairly fun place to start reading The Flash. It's a great Flash-centric event. Again, I almost put that in today's list, but I thought I'd go for proper comic book runs. If you'd like more information on Flashpoint, though, you can see my review of that comic event. At any rate, this takes place after those events, and it really does that kind of soft reboot of the DC Universe. And with that in mind, it is a great place for new readers. This is back to being the Barry Allen Flash, and it is one of my favorite modern incarnations of that character. I will say, though, that when I think about this run, this early New 52 era, the selling point for this run for me is the art, first and foremost. The art in this book is absolutely gorgeous. We have so many kind of places of experimentation and creativity that we get to see a great sense of momentum, motion, and again, it makes me feel like in the 90s when you had artists like Todd McFarlane first showing up and just really breaking barriers with how he drew Spider-Man and how he laid out pages and how everything was just so out of the box. I feel very similarly for the art in this collection. It really plays with form, and I think that you get that sense of motion and all the Flash's abilities translating into how they do panel layout, especially in scenes of action. And I think that that should be read by people that just enjoy a good art book that happens to also have a pretty fun plot, a great set of good supporting characters, and again, it's a fresh start for new readers. The whole New 52 era of DC Comics was designed with new readers in mind. Yes, it alienated maybe longer-term legacy fans of this universe as they did kind of pick and choose what they wanted from historical canon of the DC Universe when they did this Flashpoint New 52 shuffle. Anyway, more on that in other videos, I'm sure. Suffice it to say, this is an excellent entry point. This was also one of my earliest Flash comics I had the opportunity to read, so I do believe I have a bit of nostalgia goggles when I think about this run, but I do think overall people kind of undersell this work here from Manapul, and I think that it should be experienced by those, particularly those who are interested in Barry Allen's Flash. I do not think it really holds a candle to Mark Waid or Geoff Johns' era or runs on the book. I also don't think it's left as much of a lasting impact on the whole franchise as those two runs have, by a long shot, frankly, but I think that it gets undersold because there's still a lot of fun in this run. But who knows, maybe I'm alone in that sentiment. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the Flash New 52 era? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think? Again, would love to hear from you, but I felt like this was a great place to include on the list because I think it's just fantastic for new readers, and there's a lot of fun to be explored, particularly for big fans of comic book art. Okay, and last but not least, for our 5 great places to start reading the Flash video, we're going to be looking at the DC Rebirth era of the Flash under Joshua Williamson, and this is a really fun read. Now, this is a longer run that I'm really hoping gets an omnibus format down the line. Before then, it looks like we do have trade paperbacks, or you can find these DC Rebirth Deluxe editions. I believe they made 3 for this Flash title at the time of the recording. I don't believe they plan on making more, which is a real shame because this is a beautiful format. This is also how I have Tom King's Batman run. It is the same trim size as an omnibus, so we have that oversized art, the oversized issue, a nice hardcover, but we don't get all of Joshua Williamson's run on the Flash. So unfortunately, I have not had an opportunity to finish this run yet, but what I've read so far has been kind of a blast, frankly. This is another kind of soft launch of the DC Universe that really corrects some of the New 52 era's continuity and restores a more traditional DC Universe. We have kind of the return of Wally West, but this book really does follow Barry Allen's Flash once again. So for fans of Wally West, this is maybe a closer era, but still you're following really a Barry-heavy book. Now, with that being said, I also think the art here is absolutely gorgeous. I love having this format where we get to see it all oversized. Williamson introduces yet another new speedster. This case, it is Godspeed, and I really do like the character model and costume design for that speedster character, and frankly, this run does some interesting stuff with the Flash. By far, this feels the most modern of all the Flash runs I've read thus far, and so for those that like really more contemporary comic books, this run is not all that old, and I think it goes on for quite a while. So if you want to get in and read like a longer modern run, I think you could do a lot worse than Williamson. I for sure have really enjoyed some of his work in the past, like the early issues of his Robin run. I enjoyed what I've read of him on Birthright, and even his brief stint on Batman. Anyway, a great writer, and this was one of my first books I ever read from him, this early Flash Rebirth era. So again, if you're looking for a new place to start, I think having it at the beginning of kind of a DC initiative, like New 52, or in this case, Rebirth, you kind of get what you need to jump right into a new run, and I think that Williamson has a lot to offer. Again, this feels very contemporary. I think the characters feel really authentic, which is another thing I enjoy about this book. While I don't care for Barry here as much as I maybe care for Wally West throughout the run by Mark Waid or even Geoff Johns, I think Williamson does push that bar a bit forward for me. I think I certainly cared more for Barry here than maybe any time in reading history, and I think that, again, it's a fun run, and I think Williamson has a lot to offer. And I mean, you've been watching as I flip through this book. The art is beautiful, and if you can snatch one of these deluxe editions, well, frankly, I think it's pretty worth it. If you'd like to see a full review of this deluxe edition, let me know in the comments. I actually don't know if I've done a review for this book yet. At any rate, Joshua Williamson's Flash. And that's about going to round out today's list, 5 places to start reading The Flash. Again, these are some of my favorite places you can start. Of course, there's a couple honorable mentions that I did note throughout the video, like Flashpoint, or that run by Mike Barron and William Messner Loeb. Those are both really fun places as well, but this is probably my top 5 and my go-to recommendation for a lot of prospective readers out there. This is a bit quicker than some of my other list videos. Sometimes I do top 10, but hey, it's The Flash, so I did it a little bit quicker today, but I still hope you enjoyed it. Would love to get your feedback in the comments below. Maybe share some of your favorite Flash runs or even issues or Flash characters or villains. Let's make the comments section just alive with Flash facts or feedback. Thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave that comment and maybe share this video with a friend. And until next time, have a good one.